Previously on Mike in the Night. To watch this episode in its full entirety and uncensored, don't forget to check us out live every Saturday on Rumble and Odysee, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Today is Saturday, August the 19th, 2023. Welcome to episode 518 of Mike in the Night. And I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. Back in 2019, on front pages, it's what they're feeding us. And the funny part of this one is that a lot of people are actually buying this hook, line, and sinker. But what is the real thing? Like, there's something so big in the works. Either it's a real big hot war that's going to wipe out a percentage of us. Either they're going to pull the trigger on a mass pandemic, or it's going to be something. So they pulled the trigger on the pandemic. What's next? The real hot war. And that's where we're headed towards, because governments are losing their grip on basically what's going on, and they're losing their grip. So what are they going to do? They're going to obviously take it out on us. And that's usually what the case is, right? And we get punished for them screwing up. My Facebook page just opened up for no reason at all. Like nothing, just out of the blue. So August 11th at 10 in the morning, video got 3,600 shares and 120 or 130,000 views. I don't know why. Almost 5,000 likes. I don't know why. And ever since then, look, I'm getting stuff. Look, 22 shares, 113 shares. And there's our big one here from Clown World. Look, over here, 5.4 shares. So there it is right there. Look, 517 shares. What the hell? Why? Why after that one? Why after a week ago, a week before? Look, 77 shares. I used to get 0 shares. 68 shares. And I posted that 6 hours ago. Why is this happening all of a sudden? It doesn't make any sense. So this is really weird. So something is happening on Facebook. It may be on the Canadian side it's happening. And Dr. Mysterio had a few reasons why this may be happening, right? Okay, BC government introducing travel restrictions to free up accommodations for evacuees. So there's a lot of fires that are happening, and there's a lot of rumor and speculation that a lot of this is actual arson that's happening. A ton of arson is happening from a lot of the rumors that are going on and a lot of speculation that's happening. So what is happening here? The BC government is using extraordinary powers granted to under its state of emergency declaration to implement restriction on tourism-related travel to areas affected by wildfires. So he said an order is intended to ensure sufficient temporary accommodations are available to people who are evacuating or involved in fighting fires. Guess what? It's along the border from the Canadian side that was intentionally started. I'm believing all this stuff is all intentionally. This is all what I believe, in my opinion. This is all arson, because their governments are losing grip with the narrative, and they want this climate change front and center. And like we say all the time on this channel, when all else fails, report back to climate change, right? Just like that video where we told you they're going to pull the trigger on the pandemic. We were saying, I'll replay the video for you guys. This climate change is front and center, hook, line, and sinker, and people are buying it. That's what we said in the video. When all else fails, resort back to climate change. And that's what's happening, folks. So satellite imagery shows most of the west and northwest central regions of Canada in a sea of orange flames icons, locating the active wildfires outside of Yellowknife, Northwest Territory, and Okanagan, BC. So there are the wildfires, and they unexpectedly started in eastern Canada like 6 or 8 weeks before wildfire season starts. A lot of it was still defrosting. Again, more and more people were caught and arrested on site arrested and prosecuted and stuff like that. And There it is right there, folks. And now let's jump into the Maui fires really quick. Coincidence, Maui neighborhood was winning against catastrophic wildfire until water was deliberately cut off. That's our friends over at Natural News, and that's Bella Carter reporting this. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up too is because I actually got an email about a week ago from someone who is friendly to Mike in the Night on the ground in Hawaii that actually watches Mike in the Night, was telling me that they cut their water off. The theft of sacred Hawaiian land, and we told you guys that this is going to be a land grab for the elite to come in and buy it for chump change. Survivors of the Maui fires say that they received no warning, and the flames appeared so quickly. The escape was difficult. Everything was suddenly in flames, and many found refuge in the ocean for hours while their homes burned to the ground and into the same powdery ash footprint. Yeah.
Do not come to the Okanagan Valley, please. If you're a traveler or a tourist or something, just avoid Highway 97 entirely. Do not come here. We've got the entire west side of the lake is pretty well gone. Hundreds of homes, lakeside homes, burned up. It appears to me what happened here is that they waited until the absolute perfect moment, perfect storm to set off this blaze. I don't believe in coincidences, so I do believe this was orchestrated. The wind was blowing in the exact right direction on the hottest day of the year, and we got several ignitions, but one very large ignition on the west side of the lake, and it's still burning out of control, of course. And
so now they're targeting people that are so-called medical misinformation, and YouTube has created a new framework to crack down on so-called medical misinformation on the platform. In the years since we began our efforts to make YouTube a destination for high-quality health content, we've learned critical lessons about developing community guidelines with local. X is hiring staff to combat election disinformation. So what is that? Former Twitter, right? X distributed a call for its applicants to fill out new roles tasked with combating disinformation amidst the approaching 2024 election. This move will raise eyebrows among advocates and freedom of speech, particularly considering what happened when this is done with the 2020 election. So we knew that the election was stolen, obviously, from Donald Trump, but not in my town. In my town, it's backwards. In my town, they believe, in the town I live in Canada, that Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump stole the election from Hillary Clinton, and that's why Donald Trump won. The EU is days away from dictating what people can see online, and we've been telling you how France has been spearheading this, and France is working really, really, really hard to basically shut everything down. France is basically, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this because it was told to me in confidence, but it's been a while now. France is actually suing YouTube. France is actually suing Rumble. France is actually suing Odysee. Like, I'm not sure exactly in what, but they're actually suing for misinformation to try and shut down these platforms. And visualizing 156 trillion in U.S. assets by a generation. So they're U.S., for example, baby boomers own half of the nation's 156 trillion in assets, despite making 21% of the country's population. But I'm going to go on defense for the boomers on this one. Because when the boomers purchased or had these properties, or you know where I'm going with this, they bought these properties, or they bought this stuff when, let me go back to the headline here. When properties, wages were in line with incomes, were in line with property prices. So when boomers were buying their homes, they were making $5,000 to $10,000 a year, but their house was $8,000, $15,000. You see where I'm going here. You can't blame them for buying a house at the right time when wages and incomes were tied to were actually tied to incomes. Incomes and wages were tied to real estate prices, not money laundering, right? So it's really, you can't blame the boomers for that. I'm sorry. I hope a bigger channel could see this tonight and run with it on their platforms and become an absolute American hero. And CNN, as rent inflation remains sticky, rising mortgages fueling worst affordability crisis in housing in 40 years. So now it's showing here how rates are 7.09%, and a year ago was 5%. Well, let's spare a thought for those living in America. Let's spare a thought for those living in Australia. Do you know how much that house would cost in Australia? That house right there for 99 grand? That house in Australia would cost you probably $2.2 million. This house here, let me find it. I found it here earlier. Where was it? There was one that actually shows this house here in Vancouver would cost you a couple of $1 million. Right? It's 44 grand. So if your interest rates go to 7-8% and you are not over leveraged, you could afford your $50,000, $90,000, $70,000 mortgage, your $99,000 mortgage. Look at that. See that house right there? Look in Canada. Same idea house, 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We were reporting this 4 years ago, $5.5 million. Right? There it is back there again. Same type of house right there, 80 grand. And you could pick and choose where you want to be. Oh, you don't like that one? You don't like that one? This house, anywhere, a house like this, brick. A house like this with these peaks and everything. 3,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms. Anywhere in Canada will start you at 700,000, 850. Anywhere in Canada. It's 63,000. So if you have a $63,000 mortgage and you're at 9%, you could afford that. So it's the people in Canada that own these kind of houses for millions of dollars that are paying $7,000, $8,000 a month. So I'm really trying hard to show Americans what they're giving up once they give up their guns and what they're giving up, you know.
And so in my experience of watching him from the early days and having lived in the same vicinity and knowing, like having spoken to them multiple times kind of thing, I don't think that they would be a plant in the capacity of knowing that they were a plant. But I do think that he might have been maybe psychologically evaluated or just like profiled, you know what I mean? And so they're like, okay, this is the right kind of person who's just there. So he looks like a truther, but he's also vaccinated, but he's also this, but he's, you know what I mean? And then that kind of person will, I won't even say that because it's irrelevant, but they'll push ones that they know are not telling the whole truth or aren't even aware of the whole truth, to give us the illusion of awakening, to give us the illusion of having a leader. It's like, you know what a good example is? Pierre Poilievre. So I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off tonight, but who cares? You need to listen to this.
Go.
If you don't understand this, you don't understand that you're being manipulated. Pierre Poilievre is one of them. Whether he understands that or not, he's one of them. And I can, simply put, because no one will ever get to that position ever without being one of them. Okay? If they ever happen to, they would either be arrested, discredited, or assassinated. And even then, maybe that's a psyop in itself. We don't know. But there's that aspect. There's the fact that Christine Anderson, who actually is telling us to stand up against the elite and all the real dirty stuff that they're doing. And then Pierre Poilievre is calling her a racist and all this stuff, something that Justin Trudeau would say.
Oh, so he's using Trudeau information.
Yeah, it's the same, it may be, but it's the same strategy to discredit someone who's on our side, and that's being used by Pierre, who's supposedly on our side. So it just doesn't make any sense unless he's one of them. There's that. And then if you want to go another step further.
Yes. And British government declare declining birth rates will help save the planet. Of course, they're going to say this because the more people that are born, the more people that exist, that's more people that oppose these piece of shit governments, right? They want to dwindle us down so we don't form a big opposition against these pieces of shit. Italy, Ukrainian teen left disfigured after protecting minors in violent robbery by 40 strong North African gang. So basically maybe he was saving somebody, and then the 18-year-old Ukrainian refugee was left disfigured and in need of plastic surgery after being slashed with a box cutter in a violent robbery at the hands of a large gang of approximately 40 North African men in Italy. An exchange rate crisis will keep Nigerian fuel costs high, says analysts. So if you think things were getting bad in Africa, the government's deregulation program has more than doubled the cost of petrol. Petrol prices will continue to rise in Nigeria as long as the government presses ahead with its agenda of deregulation. And that's what they did to us in the West. They deregulated our banking system to allow banking cartel governments to go ahead and take control of...
They're not calling it a satanic religion, which it is. It's totally part of their religion, you know? Mm-hmm. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that they shouldn't be teaching this crap in schools. You know, they're wasting time with kids. They're confusing kids. Kids don't even think about this stuff. And you got young little kids learning this stuff being forced on them. And the parents are starting to find out about this stuff. A lot of people still have no idea that this is going on. They're just blown away when I explain it to them. But we've woken up enough, and they have no right to force this satanic religion on our kids.
Nope, they don't. It's the multiple religions they're throwing at us, Eduardo. It's that one, and the other one that I hate the most that I keep swearing about is climate change or global warming. It's a religion. Evolution. I don't believe evolution's a bunch of garbage. 40 billion years ago, mafangulo. All this stuff, one after another. It's just one religious cult after another, and it comes in different forms. Get out of here. Are you serious?
I'm serious. It is. I'll see if I can dig it up. It came out a while. I might have to go to the Wayback Machine, but I'll see if I can find it.
Okay. That's so bizarre how they use numbers, I guess, for us to... Are they using numbers at times to allow us, to give us a chance to decipher?
Well, part of the whole satanic thing is that they have to follow rules. And one of the rules is they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it.
Oh, so it's in patterns or number patterns. And if you could decipher or see through the grid, you could actually kind of maybe predict where they're coming.
That's right. Yeah, but they always tell you before they're going to do it. They're not hiding anything. Look at Agenda 2030. I mean, you just have to read the document.
Mm-hmm.